Good evening. This is the News at 6. I'm Ishan Russell, and the News at 6 is all about the day's biggest stories, the big developments that happened all through the day. And today we are, of course, going to be talking about US President Barack Obama, who completed his 3-day India visit and had a final message. What was that message? Well, apart from the seat at the UNSC for India, he made a whole host of other promises, including a lot of investment. So we'll be talking about that and more over the next half hour. But first, the headlines we're tracking right now. US President Barack Obama wraps up 3-day visit to India, thanks Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a memorable visit. AIR to relay Mann Ki Baat, the joint radio address of Prime Minister Modi and US President Obama tonight. Markets cheer the step up in Indo-US ties. Obama's announcements in trades. Sensex zooms nearly 300 points to hit a new lifetime peak. And Thomas Berdych scores an upset at the Australian Open, knocks out Rafael Nadal in straight sets to reach the semi-finals. US President Barack Obama wound up his 3-day visit to India today with an address to a select gathering at the Shri Fort Auditorium. At his last public event in India, Obama spoke of the potential of the India-US partnership, massive social, cultural and emotional overlaps between the two nations, and the possibilities of working together to lead the world.
India and America, the future we can build together. An apt title to the US President's last public interaction.
Namaste.
In a visit that has taken the relationship to a new paradigm and dimension, Obama said time is ripe enough, like never before, to take ties to a new plane.
I believe if we're going to be true global partners, then our two nations must do more around the world together. So to ensure international security and peace, multilateral institutions created in the 20th century have to be updated for the 21st. And that's why I support a reformed United Nations Security Council that includes India as a permanent member.
Invoking Swami Vivekananda and Mahatma Gandhi, President Obama highlighted intense similarities between the two cultures beyond business ties.
Swami Vivekananda helped bring Hinduism and yoga to our country, and he came to my hometown of Chicago.
On the need to empower and educate women, hailing the potential of each showing the way to the other. Religious tolerance, he stressed, was the foundation of the way forward for both.
Around the world we've seen intolerance and violence and terror perpetrated by those who profess to be standing up for their faith, but in fact are betraying it. No society is immune from the darkest impulses of man, and too often religion has been used to tap into those darker impulses as opposed to the light of God.
After a 40-minute long speech, on the sidelines of the event, Obama met children and students. Among those present, Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi, whose Bachpan Bachao Andolan has worked extensively for children's welfare, bringing down curtains on a visit that redraws many a parallel between India and the US. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And Obama's speech at the town hall meeting today evoked mixed responses from political parties. While the BJP called it a grand success for Indo-US relations, the opposition parties hailed Obama's remarks on upholding religious freedom to achieve success. His remarks came at a time when the Modi government has been accused by the opposition parties of not checking pro-Hindu activists. The Prime Minister had warned BJP lawmakers against making provocative statements seen to divert attention from his government's agenda of economic reforms. Meanwhile, the left parties raised questions over US investments a day after Obama pledged $4 billion trade with India.
The central message that President Obama has really sent out, that a country becomes great not because it has nuclear weapons or not because its GDP is an X number. It becomes great if it really respects the diversity of the people who live in it.
The way Mr. Obama ended the speech with Jai Hind and Jai Bharat shows that the day is not far when the dream of our Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, would come true, that India is the country of 21st century.
What is that India is going to get from the United States in the form of investments, how much? So let us see. These are all now talks. Actually on ground what is going to happen, we will have to wait and see.
And Obama also called for a greater role for India in the Asia-Pacific region. Against the backdrop of China exerting its influence in the South China Sea, Obama today said freedom of navigation must be upheld. However, China refuted Obama's remarks in the dispute. Beijing's reaction comes a day after criticizing Obama's support for India at the Nuclear Suppliers Group.
India made its stand clear on the South China Sea row last year when it called for free navigation on the disputed waters. Southeast Asian nations like Vietnam have sought India's help on maritime safety and security in the region. On Tuesday, US President Barack Obama called for India's greater role in the region, backing Delhi's views.
The United States welcomes a greater role for India in the Asia-Pacific, where the freedom of navigation must be upheld and disputes must be resolved peacefully.
China has refuted the remarks. Its foreign ministry said the issue should be resolved through talks by parties directly concerned. Obama's remarks came a day after China reacted strongly to US support for India for a place in the Nuclear Suppliers Group. On Monday, China called Pakistan its irreplaceable ally in the region. According to experts, China views the US-India bonhomie as an attempt to balance Beijing's dominance in the region.
Chinese are obviously reacting to what they fear is the American attempt to bring India into its into the ambit of its alliances and the pivot to Asia framework. So they naturally are having concerns that India will also be joining the United States.
China had earlier warned India against meddling in its dispute with Vietnam over islands in the South China Sea. It also opposed Vietnam's move to invite India to carry out oil exploration in the area. Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan and Vietnam contest the Chinese claims on the resource-rich region. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And to help us understand the message that Obama delivered today, decipher it, we have with us Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti. He is a former secretary at the Ministry of External Affairs and has been observing this visit rather closely. Sir, thank you very much for speaking to us. Just help us understand as far as from the strategic point of view, a lot was said today. India's seat at the UNSC, Obama said he and the US administration were committed to that. And also the thing about the South China Sea, that many are seeing is India's elevation as for its role in the entire not just Asia region but a larger Asia Pacific region.
Well, on the UNSC seat, I think he has said it before. So it was a reiteration of something that the US has said before. But it's easy to say it, but much more difficult to get it done, because you will have opposition from China. And as you know, if one of the P5 countries object, then it will not happen. So I think it is, they are getting a bit of a free ride on this because India feels happy to listen to this. But at least it's a step forward, and at a moment in time in the future, I believe it will happen automatically, whether China likes it or not. But China can hold it up and will hold it up for quite some time. On the Asia Pacific and the statement that has been issued, yes, China will certainly be irked about it because they think that the South China Sea is kind of their backyard lake, and nobody else should be interested in it. But that's not how the world works, and freedom of navigation is a sacrosanct principle of the global common of the high seas, and I think every country respects that. Now, Philippines has taken China to the International Arbitration Tribunal, and Vietnam has joined the Philippines in the same tribunal, but then China refuses to go to the tribunal. So China wishes to basically use its size, muscle and its power to enforce its own wishes in the South China Sea. But the other countries, which are smaller, and there is a huge power asymmetry between them and China, are not willing to accept this because UNCLOS and other sort of arrangements that we have, international arrangements, does not permit China to make those claims. So China is avoiding arbitration. It does not want to follow the UNCLOS principles. So basically, it is behaving in a bit of a independent and unique manner, which only shows that it is probably out of some arrogance of power, and that it wants to impose its will on the other countries and take what it thinks is its right. And I don't think China will be sort of in a happy position doing this.
Right.
Also, China is perhaps also a little concerned that India, the US, the Vietnam, and Australia, the so-called Quad, these four countries will probably now, if they get together, that means that China will feel, the beginnings of some sort of containment taking place. So I think it'll not be very comfortable with this.
All right. Apart from that, President Obama did speak a lot about investments, and we on Rajya Sabha TV have been speaking about that. But Mr. Chakravarti, just taking it forward from here, how do you see India now approaching the Asia-Pacific region? Do we see a lot more regional dialogues with perhaps smaller countries, India emerging as a new kind of power, which traditionally we have not been aligned with those countries, but now perhaps can be aligned in a better way?
Well, I think I think there is something in the statement which says that the USA would like India to join the APEC, for example. And India already has moved on from look east to act east. And we are having dialogue with Japan, Korea, Australia, perhaps with Indonesia as well, and ASEAN as a whole. And I think linkages are being developed, not just in trade, but also on the security side. And defense relationships are also, the brick by brick it is being built. And Indian Navy does exercises with many of these countries. And I think you can expect that some of this will increase. That is, India's footprint in the Asia Pacific is likely to go up. But for that we need, of course, to prepare our Navy, fund it properly, and ensure that it has the tools and the wherewithal to take on this responsibility.
Right. All right, Mr. Chakravarti, thank you very much for coming in and explaining to us and our viewers the nuances of the visit of American President Barack Obama. Thank you very much for that, sir. All right, moving on now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Barack Obama will jointly address the radio show Man Ki Baat tonight at 8 p.m. The show was recorded earlier in the day. Reflecting the growing Indo-US ties, Obama decided to join Modi in the monthly address during his ongoing 3-day visit. Modi has been addressing the nation over radio every month since October last through the Man Ki Baat program. Significantly, when Modi visited the United States in September last year, he and Obama had written a joint op-ed in a major American daily. Time for a very quick break right now. Coming up on the other side, we'll be talking about the Delhi elections. Rahul Gandhi held a roadshow today. We'll tell you what he said.
A landmark India visit, setting new paradigms, capturing the imagination like never before. What now are the key takeaways, the tangible outcomes? Watch The Big Picture at 6:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, US President Barack Obama's India visit is an issue in the Delhi elections. Yes, BJP's chief ministerial candidate Kiran Bedi has said that Obama's visit was a huge achievement for the BJP. But she faced a severe backlash for a remark, with the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress and the others calling it cheap politics.
The BJP's chief ministerial candidate is seeking votes in Delhi using United States President Barack Obama's name.
दिल्ली चाहती क्या है? अगर दिल्ली अपने सारे देश के साथ जिसको आज उड़ान के लिए नरेंद्र मोदी जी हमको ले जा रहे हैं, ओबामा जी ऐसे नहीं आते.
The invitation extended to Bedi for the Republic Day parade is already a big issue. To top it all, her using the United States President's name to garner votes has not gone too well with the opposition. The opposition says that Republic Day should not be politicized.
ओबामा का नाम क्यों इस्तेमाल करना पड़ रहा है किरण बेदी को? क्योंकि उनके पास दिल्ली के मुद्दों पर बात करने के लिए कुछ सब्सटेंस नहीं है. वो उनके पास कोई रोड मैप नहीं है कि दिल्ली में हर घर साफ पानी कैसे पहुंचाया जाए. आम आदमी पार्टी उसके बारे में बात कर रही है, वो ओबामा के बारे में बात कर रही है.
Well, it's extremely unfortunate that this government tried to politicize the Republic Day parade also. The kind of prominence which they attempted to give to their chief ministerial candidate is something which is unprecedented and is a violation of all norms of established protocol.
But BJP claims that the deals finalized during Obama's visit are a result of Prime Minister Modi's vision and they see no wrong in gaining political mileage out of it.
लगातार अनेक देशों के राष्ट्राध्यक्ष यहाँ आ रहे हैं और जिस तरह से वो निवेश की यहाँ घोषणा करके जा रहे हैं तो हमारे लिए तो प्राउड की बात है, प्रत्येक भारतीय के लिए गर्व की बात है.
Campaigning in Haryana, Maharashtra, Jharkhand and Jammu and Kashmir also saw Modi's visits abroad being used to woo voters. Shamsundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Defying been snubbed by the Election Commission over his bribe remarks, Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal once again called for voters to take money from the BJP and the Congress but vote for his party. Kejriwal made this remark at two election rallies in Jangpur and Kasturba Nagar constituency last night. The former Delhi Chief Minister had been issued a notice by the Election Commission for making such remarks during rallies. It said the remarks amounts to abetting and promoting electoral offence of bribery. And Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi led a roadshow by his party in New Delhi today. He launched his campaigning in Delhi today from the Kalkaji Assembly constituency. Riding atop a decorated truck, Rahul Gandhi was accompanied by key state leaders like Arvind Singh Lovely. Rahul Gandhi said that his party's aim in this election is to ensure representation of every person in Delhi. He slammed the NDA government over indulging in more PR exercises than doing real work. The Congress is looking for a revival in the assembly polls this year after being pushed to the third position in the 2013 polls.
भैया मई से एनडीए की सरकार है और प्रधानमंत्री जी पीआर कर रहे हैं, अपना पर्सनल पीआर कर रहे हैं, मगर कॉन्क्रीट एक काम नहीं हुआ है. रियलिटी ये है और जनता ये पूछ रही है कि बातें कब बंद होंगी, काम कब शुरू होगा. कांग्रेस पार्टी उन लोगों की पार्टी है, कमजोर लोगों की पार्टी है, गरीब लोगों की पार्टी है और हम इसलिए वापस आएंगे कि हम गरीब लोगों के साथ खड़े रहेंगे, उनका हाथ पकड़ेंगे और एक बार फिर हिंदुस्तान को सही पटरी पे पहुंचाएंगे.
On to the stock markets now, where it was really good because the BSE Sensex and the Nifty continued their record-breaking streak for the fifth consecutive session today. The Nifty hit a record high at 8900 level for the first time, in fact. The 50-share Nifty index was up 76 points to end at 8,911. The Sensex was up 266 points to close at 29,545. The markets were buoyed by optimism over the upcoming budget and quarterly earnings amid positive domestic factors and mixed global cues. According to experts, capital goods stock rose after US President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Modi unveiled a deal aimed at unblocking billions of dollars in nuclear trade and deepening defense ties.
Whatever has come out of this visit, I think it's a big positive because we have signed nuclear treaty. They have committed investments in the smart cities and so on. So sentiment has improved a lot. So I personally feel that politically and economically this visit is a big positive as far as our country is concerned.
Noted cartoonist Laxman was given a state funeral by Maharashtra in Pune. The iconic cartoonist died yesterday at the age of 94 due to multi-organ failure. The Maharashtra government and its Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis was there personally from the government side to attend the last rites. Fadnavis also announced a memorial dedicated to Laxman. He said Laxman wasn't just a cartoonist, but what he said through his common man cartoons will live forever, inspiring future governments.
he was not just a mere cartoonist, but he always had something to say through his cartoons, and his demise has created a void. But I would like to say that although he has passed away, the common man which he has created will live forever and will be a guiding force for any political regime. We would like to create appropriate memorial for R.K. Laxman ji.
And now look at all the other national news and updates in Nationwide. The CBI today filed its progress report on its investigation into the coal block allocation case. The case allegedly involves former Coal Secretary PC Parakh, industrialist Kumaramangalam Birla and others. The CBI filed its closure report in August last year and is seeking 2 more weeks to complete its probe. The court has fixed the next hearing on the 19th of February. A MiG-27 fighter aircraft of the Indian Air Force crashed in the Barmer district of Rajasthan, but the pilot ejected safely. However, it was not immediately known if there was any casualty. The crash reportedly took place at about 3:10 in the afternoon today. The aircraft is used for ground attack purposes. It took off from Jodhpur Air Base and was on its way to Uttarlai Air Force Station in Rajasthan. 5 tourists died in Shimla after their car fell into a 700-foot deep gorge. The tourists were coming from Punjab to Shimla when the accident took place. An investigation is underway to ascertain the reason behind the accident. Former Union Minister P. Chidambaram's son Karthi refused to respond to the show-cause notice issued by Tamil Nadu Congress Committee Chief Elangovan. Karthi has said that only the AICC had passed to issue a notice to him. Elangovan issued the notice last week after Karthi Chidambaram criticized the party's policies at an informal meeting. Some international news now, and the northeastern United States, including New York, have shut down after a forecast of a winter storm Juno. It could dump up to 30 inches of snow in some parts of New Jersey, Maine and New Hampshire. All vehicles have been banned from the roads. Thousands of flights have been cancelled as well. Emergency has also been declared in some parts of the United States.
New York City, looking nothing like its normal bustling self. Manhattan has become a ghost town. Boston is buried in white as a massive blizzard slammed into the northeast of United States, whipped by near hurricane force winds and waves.
Travel restriction for all roads, state roads, local roads, city roads, town roads, except for emergency personnel. This is a serious situation. If you violate this state order, it's a possible misdemeanor. It's fines up to $300.
Travel bans kicked in New York and other northeast areas, with forecasters warning residents to expect crippling amounts of snow. Close to 6,500 flights were cancelled, hardest hit airports being New York, Boston and Philadelphia. Even the New York subway system, one of the largest and oldest in the world, was closed down at 11 p.m. on Monday.
Virtually all flights at LaGuardia tomorrow will be canceled. Significant cancellations at JFK as well. The typical advice we give is call your carriers if you're planning on leaving tomorrow when the roads have been reopened, whenever that time is. But very extensive cancellations at all airports. Expect significant delays.
Winter storm Juno is likely to dump close to 30 inches snow in some parts. An emergency has been declared in many states, including of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Some 60 million people are likely to be affected. New York police has said that it was well prepared with a fleet of vehicles capable of traversing snowy streets. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Former Cuban President Fidel Castro has tacitly lent his support to Cuba's talks with the United States. Breaking his silence for the first time since Cuba and the US announced resumption in diplomatic ties, Castro said that he did not reject a peaceful solution to conflicts. However, he did not trust US policy. Fidel also appeared to be backing decisions taken by his younger brother Rahul, the current Cuban president who succeeded him in 2008. On the 17th of December, the Obama administration and the Cuban government announced a thawing of relations, including an exchange of prisoners in spying cases and a loosening of economic sanctions. High-level talks between the United States and Cuba were held last week. All the other international news and updates in Global Buzz now. After 4 months of heavy fighting in Kobane, Kurdish forces raised their flags on the Turkish border, pushing out the Islamic State. Kurdish forces have now control over more than 90% of Kobane. Thousands of civilians celebrated the military group's defeat in the city center. However, the Pentagon has declined to declare the battle for Kobane is over or that ISIS forces have been entirely pushed out. A Japanese team is working 24 hours a day for the release of freelance journalist Kenji Goto, who is being held hostage by the Islamic State. Reports emerged that the militants may be pushing for a two-for-two prisoner exchange. Islamic State is demanding the release of not just Iraqi Sajida al-Rishawi, but a would-be suicide bomber who took part in the 2005 hotel bombings in Amman, but also detained another Iraqi terrorist, Ziad al-Karboli. The Indonesian military suspended the recovery operation for AirAsia flight QZ8501 after it was hampered by stormy weather. Search teams failed to retrieve the fuselage after 3 days of attempts. So far, 70 of the 162 bodies have been found. Thomas. An asteroid measuring about half a kilometer in diameter made a relatively close but harmless pass by Earth. The asteroid passed about 745,000 miles from Earth, roughly 3 times farther away than the Moon. During the flyby, scientists even discovered that the asteroid had a moon of its own. Well, news from the Australian Open now, and Rafael Nadal was upset by Thomas Burgett. This Czech defeated the world number 3 in the quarterfinals. Burgett will now meet Andy Murray, who reached the semi-finals today. However, women's second seed Maria Sharapova remained on course for her 6th Grand Slam by reaching the semi-finals. She, in fact, beat her opponent also in straight sets. Well, that's it from us. Goodbye.